And we're back. Social sanity or lack thereof. I am Ashley.
I'm Christy, and welcome
And
back.
welcome back to our cast. So today we are doing another documentary opinions and breakdown. This time we're doing Miss Gypsy Rose Blanchard's story.
Yes.
Very controversial, very like in the limelight, very interesting. And we have some thoughts and opinions.
Mhm.
So, if you're not familiar with Miss Thing committed or was complicit in the matricide of her very mother. Um Yeah. We watched Mommy Dead and Dearest, or is it Dearest and Dead? Is it Dead and
I think
Dearest?
it's Dead and Dearest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mommy Dead and Dearest, aptly named. Um if you're not familiar, she basically was enduring the victim of Munchausen by proxy.
Mhm.
If you're not sure what that is when your um caregiver or guardian inflicts um imagined or presumed illness upon you um for the sake of like attention or like uh
Sympathy.
yeah, special treatment or things like that. um
Yes. Sometimes they gain like monetary value off of that. Like they get houses, trips,
mhm.
it's crazy.
Yeah, like I mean, even if you don't get that, like there are ulterior motives that belong entirely to the committer of the Munchausen by proxy.
Correct.
So after she got of a certain age, she was like, I'm fed up. And she got her little boyfriend. And her boyfriend just wasn't, he was experiencing some things, I believe. And
Mhm.
she made a plan to have him kill her mother.
Yeah.
Um, and she was sentenced to 10 years in prison for that and has recently gotten out on parole. Your girl active on TikTok.
Oh,
Um,
is she? Girl.
like, okay, girl. So yeah, so we're gonna dive into like our opinions and like some details of like the trial and some of the things that I've heard and that Christy's heard. And yeah, we're gonna unpack this. It's gonna be
There's a
interesting.
lot to unpack. Oh yeah. Oh, I can't wait for this.
Yeah. Oh my God. So let's start with the mama, Miss Dee Dee.
Mhm.
Oh, can
Mhm.
we also address that Miss Gypsy Rose is named after a 1940s burlesque dancer?
Yeah, when I was trying to Google her,
Mhm,
that was the first thing that popped up there. And then they had that song at the end of the Mommy, Dead and Dearest.
mhm.
And I have that stuck in my head now. I'm like, Gypsy Rose. like, damn.
Right? Oh,
Her
and
mama was in her
by the way,
feels.
one of my favorite movies, the one with Rosalind Russell and Natalie Wood. Mm.
What, burlesque?
No, Gypsy.
Oh, that's what it's called as Gypsy. Okay, I thought maybe it was like a burlesque movie, like with Natalie. Like, I know who Natalie Wood is, but I didn't know.
She plays Gypsy Rose, and Rosalind
Okay.
Russell is her mother. It's so good,
Okay.
so good. I cry every
I'll
time.
have to watch that. Yeah, that sounds interesting.
But yeah. Let's Miss Dee Dee, named her child after a burlesque dancer.
Hmm.
Why you do
Like, right.
that,
What
Dee
was
Dee?
up with that, mama?
Dee Dee, why you do that?
See, she was already, girl,
She's
trying
already
to
up
get
to
attention. She was
crazy.
already trying to get attention for that baby.
Like Miss Ma'am, no, never.
Mhm.
No, I mean that's never mind. I was gonna say something, but never mind. Let's not get. Um, yeah, so apparently, like talking to like the dad, the stepmother and the nephew, Miss Dee Dee was not firing on all cylinders. She
Correct.
had some things going on with her that were probably should have been addressed far sooner.
For
And then
sure. I'd say definitely treated.
right. And then not Dee Dee convincing the dad that there was something wrong with Gypsy, like convincing everybody.
Yes, I felt so sorry for the dad. And, even like at the end of that, where Gypsy was like, I
Mhm.
don't blame you for anything. I don't blame my stepmom for anything because I really believe that she made everyone believe this. And, he just went with it because she was the mom. He was trusting that
Right.
she was taking care of their daughter the way that she was supposed to. And why would she? Like, I don't think it ever crossed his mind at that
To
time,
be
that
like,
it
oh,
would be
well,
made
I
up.
know
Who
better,
thinks that?
child's mother. Like,
Right.
I mean, I can see where that would never cross his mind, where that would never be something
Right.
he would question because, I mean, one usually doesn't question, I mean, except for doctors because they're assholes, question the validity of a mother's claim. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm with this child daily, day in and day out.
I
And
think I know my kid.
yeah, like I know my child.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then like the dad and him, from his perspective, fully understanding that she was going to do the best for their child, and then convincing the like doctors. What's up with them doctors?
When they went through the freaking medical records, I was thinking that I'm like, y'all literally put in there that you suspicioned Munchausen was going on here. You suspicioned something was weird. The mom wasn't a good historian. She wasn't able to recall things. Like I I was like trying to wrap my head around that. And I'm like, this is where kids fall through the cracks. This is
Oh,
where the system fails us. Like, if you
every
really, yeah, if you really thought that there was something going on with that mom, then that should have been addressed and that should have been taken to authorities, Department of Children's Service, something, somebody somewhere do their due diligence of what they're supposed to do ethically is turn this in, I couldn't get over that.
yeah, and I'm like, so
Crazy.
what happened? Because like doctors, nurses, even like medical aid, like their first what do you call it, mandatory what is it called, where
Like
they
mandatory
have,
reporting.
yeah, like they have to report any suspicions. So if I had this suspicion, like why didn't they, like what happened,
I
like
mean, does it have to be a suspicion or does it have to be like if you know for a fact, like how in therapy they tell you like everything you say is, locked up,
mm-hmm.
whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas type thing.
Right.
Unless you say that you have done this, this, and this, then they have to report it. But like, is it just suspicion regardless? You know what I mean? Like, I think there might be like
Like there's a
that's
gray,
kind of a toss up, you
yeah,
know?
where they like don't really, like they can if there's suspicion, but like they can't go on an assumption, you
Right,
know.
because then you would be causing problems that may not even be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you got everybody feeling some type of way. Like the parent knows, like if that were me in that situation or something, I would be like, oh my God, like they think I'm doing this and I'm really not. Like that would have me in my feels. That's going to get me all tore to pieces.
Oh,
You know, but it's
mhm.
just, I would hate to be in that position, like be in
Oh my
like a doctor's position like that, or like even a therapist position where you're just
God.
like, oh, I don't know what to do, and you don't want to do the wrong thing. And,
Well, my thing is, I
but
think the mentality is the truth will out. So it's like if you're not doing nothing you're not supposed to, you're gonna comply, you're gonna do what they say. Although I have um heard experiences of that backfiring completely.
mm,
So yeah,
yeah,
it's like I can't even imagine. But
right.
like the doctors were suspicious, and bro, that stack of papers that that lawyer had of the number of doctors, like all the medical conditions and all the treatments and all this stuff, and I'm like, what? Like, how did they diagnose something that was not in actuality a thing?
I know that's what I didn't understand either. Like y'all didn't confirm any of this. Like you didn't run tests on her to see. Like you're just going off of. But here's my question. I wonder, was Dee Dee just going to them and being like, "Oh yeah, well she was diagnosed with this, this, and this," and just telling them that, and they were going off of what she said versus actually pulling medical records to prove and to, whatever. Because I mean, I know like let's just say you go to a different doctor, and you know how they give you like the release of information that you would have to sign if you wanted your medical records sent over to them. What if it was a thing where like you, because I've had doctors that did not give me one of those. Like when I've gone to a PCP sometimes, like a new one,
Mhm.
they won't even all the time, like they don't always send me a thing saying to sign this so we can have your records sent over from a different whatever. Because my new PCP that I've been seeing since last year, I've never had to sign anything for that. And I know for a fact they have to have it if they want the records. So when I went to the doctor, I was like, I have ADHD. I was diagnosed, and she literally took my word for it. That's a thing. That literally is a thing. She never tested me for it. I was tested previously by somebody else, but like you would think they would be like, well, let's just make sure. Like, I know you're telling me this, but I want to see for myself type thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just literally were like, oh, okay, well, let's put you on this. And I'm just like, okay, I could have just, you know what I'm saying?
Questionable. That is
Mm-hmm.
questionable. Um, so my thing is like with a new PCP, like I know like some of them like they may not request the records because they're gonna do their own battery of tests. Like
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
gonna do their own thing. Because I know when I changed, which this was some years ago, to my internal health doctor, when I went over
Mm-hmm.
there, he like they didn't I don't think they ever requested any records or anything. He ran a full blood panel, um, like everything. Like they just reran everything
Yeah,
because they couldn't figure out what the fuck was wrong with me. So
I get that.
I'm like, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
like I know like for the few times I've been like at the hospital, like I have to sign because they don't have my records and they don't have time to do, run a full medical background. So like yeah, they'll request
Right.
my records and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna need those so you don't kill me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's if doctors, I ain't trying to talk shit, but that's if they actually don't overlook some things too when they do get your records, because that do be a thing.
Oh, absolutely. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't see that. And I'm like, that's so weird because I can see it. Like it
Oh,
says
especially
right there.
especially about like medications. You know what I mean? And that is one thing I've got to say. Like I heard on a podcast
Mhm,
that this chick that was doing the podcast, she
mhm,
was talking about how she had went to the doctor
mhm,
and the doctor like gave her all these medicines to take,
mhm,
and she said that she asked the pharmacist like, hey, I'm on this medicine, like this is okay for me to take this with it, right? And they were like, absolutely not.
mhm. Oh,
Absolutely not.
bro.
And they're like, do not, that she said the pharmacist told her, do not ever trust a doctor telling you medicines that you can take together. Always ask a pharmacist because they know their shit.
Yes. Because like I
Facts.
know like my doctor, they're the computer program that they use. If
Mhm.
the medicines, like if there's a what do you call it?
Like a medicine that interacts or something
Yeah,
with each other.
interaction. It won't let them prescribe it. Like it stops them from prescribing it. Like it puts a big like sad face, big red
Where
sad.
do you get yours from?
Huh?
Where do you get yours from?
I go to it's called Middle Tennessee Medical Center. Dr. Alley, he's an internal medicine doctor.
Oh, and where do you get your medicines from?
Oh,
Like your pharmacy? You said Kroger. See, I use Publix, and
mm,
the thing is that I was prescribed like back when we were trying to do the ADHD meds with my last doctor.
mm,
Um, she was prescribing me things that interacted, and I can't remember what it was, what the two medicines were that interacted with each other, but they cause like the serotonin syndrome if they're taken together.
mm.
And I Googled it first, and then I asked the pharmacist, and she was like, she was like, yes, this does, it can cause like serotonin syndrome. And I'm like, okay,
Serotonin
so
syndrome.
it's like an overload. Like when you're taking antidepressants, you know, how, like when you're on antidepressants, you really can't take fucking anything with them. Like I
Oh,
feel
oh,
like almost everything interacts with it.
right.
Like my fucking inhaler, my damn nasal spray, all that shit
Bro,
was interacting. I'm
everything.
like,
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
would rather have my nasal spray and inhaler because that should be affecting me all fall and winter versus taking damn medicine. Like I would rather just do that because I can't breathe. I
Right.
can't be able to breathe.
Like the fucking sinus headaches alone. Like
Hmm.
just that. Like, no, thank you. I'd rather be sad.
Right. At least I'll be alive and sad with a fucking,
Right.
I
I
ain't
can
got I ain't
fucking
got to worry about no damn sinus headache.
walk around being sad as shit. Leave me alone.
Right.
I might
Just
cry
leave me
for a
alone
day.
while I'm not medicated for that. Okay.
Just let me cry. Hey, it's fine. Shit. It's fine.
But yeah, I couldn't get over that, like seeing all of that in the records and how that was there, and it
Mhm.
never, the fact that it was in there multiple times, though,
Right.
multiple doctors made that assumption, then
Hmm.
you would think that would have been brought to the attention of someone at some point, like, oh shit, I'm seeing this from three different doctors. There's something to this. If all of us are suspecting it, then there's something going on. You know what I'm saying? It can't just be one person suspecting, it's more than one person. It'd be different if it was one doctor out of all of them.
Right. No,
And
no,
they
no.
kind of
And a
they
neurologist.
kind of yeah. That and I think back to like the very beginning, like when they were showing the home movies and she was a baby and she was one, and Dee Dee was like, how old are you? And she was holding up her one finger and she's like, where's your cranial? And she was like this, and where's your intestines or something. I don't remember what she said, but she pointed at her stomach, and I'm like, was she one though? Because here's the thing. How they mentioned that like she was actually older than what she was. So she was like in her 20s when she was pretending to be 10 or 11. And
Right.
it's like,
It's like, stop.
so
What if
was she one? She was actually really intelligent. And then she only make it to second grade.
if she was one like and I thought about that too. I was like the way she got like was fiddling around in that basket. I'm like 3-year-old.
I thought the same. I thought she looked so big in that basket because I did not expect her to say I was one when she held up her one. I was like, what? You are so big in that basket.
Right. And I'm like, maybe it was just a really small basket, but like when she hurt, like she popped her little feet out, and I was like, that's a 3-year-old foot. That's a 3-year-old foot. A 1-year-old's
Yeah.
feet look they just look different. They still look like infant feet, like they're little
Yeah. Yeah,
different.
that's because they haven't been pitter pattering around that much, like their feet
Exactly.
don't be looking like a
Mhm.
whole toddler's.
Exactly.
They
Right.
barely a toddler.
I know. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could tell. I mean, I'm sure her growth is stunted too, but she looked very short, even like before she was like, oh, well, she's got was it multiple sclerosis or
Or muscular dystrophy, I think.
muscular dystrophy, right?
Yes.
Like she was little, but
Right.
like that was a sturdy baby. Like she was like
Yeah.
little plumpness to her. And I'm like,
Yeah. And you know what? I was sitting there thinking, like, okay, so she clearly, all of this stuff started when she was around second grade because she even told the judge, like, when he said, how far did you go in school? And she said, second grade. That's literally when everything started for her, like when her mom was doing all of this bullshit.
right,
And it's like, she was walking up until that point, and you don't think doctors were questioning, like, oh, she walked until she was 7 and randomly paralyzed? Like,
right.
that's weird. And do you remember that video of her sitting on the porch and she was
And
jumping off?
that would have fucking broke her leg. That would have
Exactly. And the way she fell, girl, I saw her legs move, and then
she's like
she
doing
scooped
her
them up
thing.
too.
Girl.
Mhm.
And I was like, I mean, was nobody just paying attention? Was she keep like, okay, I think they said this too. Like she was keeping her like completely isolated. Like she wasn't allowed to like go around friends or like, hang out with people alone. So I'm like,
Yes.
how do you I don't know, like just manipulating a young mind into thinking like, yes, I'm disabled. There's something wrong with me. I'm sick. and then
Mm-hmm.
medicating her for like all this different stuff, like that alone will cause bizarre symptoms.
Yes. And you know how she said that she had to wear that CPAP at night, and she said she always felt like it didn't help her breathe any. If anything, it made it worse. Well, duh.
It
That's just,
will, because you're already breathing. It,
yes, it's not going to help you if you have nothing wrong with you. Girl, I was watching Working Moms. Have you ever seen Working Moms on
mm-mm,
Netflix?
mm-mm.
Bitch, highly recommend. You have got to watch it. It is so fucking funny. It's like Shameless, but it's a bunch of moms, and they are just like they remind me of like me and you as moms.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, it's worth it. They're short episodes, so it's not like super long. It wouldn't take you a long time to get through. They're 7 seasons, but a fucking amazing, 5 stars all the way. Um, but there was this episode where this guy, like, okay, the main character, she's a comedian, but she also created the show, and she's also the main character.
Mhm.
And she plays this girl named Kate, and she has a PR firm, right?
Okay.
And this she gets with this company that's like a pharmaceutical company, and they're developing this drug it's like a birth control for men, right? And the guy had also got, like, they developed another medication that was for migraines, and she and her friends, like, he gave her a bottle of this medicine as like a prototype, I guess you could say, but, like, it was actually the medicine, but he gave it to her, um, just so she could, like, look it over, think about how she was gonna, like, announce it and stuff, because she was PR, she was public relations for him, so he had to figure out, how he was gonna do this.
Mhm.
Anyway, so she and her friends drank a bunch of non-alcoholic wine or champagne. They didn't know it was non-alcoholic. Somebody brought it. They said it was champagne, I guess, and they thought it was. So they thought they were drunk, like it was the placebo effect.
Wow.
But they took this medicine,
Mhm.
and they woke up the next morning, and they had completely blacked out. They couldn't remember anything from the night before. So that's why they thought they were like drunk. But then they found out that champagne was non-alcoholic. So they were still trying to figure out, why did we not remember anything? Then, as the day went on, they kept remembering bits and pieces. Everybody starts remembering things,
Mhm.
and they figured out what it was. And after they started remembering, they remembered that guy had come by, brought the bottle, and she remembered them popping the bottle and everybody taking it. But they thought it would help them with a hangover. That was why they took it,
Uh,
because it was for migraine. So they're like, yeah, they're like, let's take this. We'll be proactive.
right.
Well, the reason it made them black out and lose their memory is because they didn't have a migraine. So if you don't have a migraine, that's what it does to you, is it makes you black out and not remember if you take it when you're not supposed to. So taking medicines when you're not supposed to is going to have like an opposite effect on you, or even worse.
Right. Like, she said also she was taking like a chemo pill at one point, and like she didn't have an autoimmune disease and she didn't have cancer. And I'm like, okay, I have an autoimmune disease and I was taking methotrexate, and oh, it was unpleasant. I'm not gonna go into detail, but stomach issues of
Oh
multiple
man.
kinds, and just feeling like I'm like, shoot me now. Thank you. Thank you.
I cannot imagine. And then in turn, that's going to cause you to be dehydrated. AF.
Mm.
Girl.
It was a nightmare every week.
I
Well,
can't even.
anyway,
And think about all the surgery she had for like neurological shit, and like all and the feeding tube. Like that, none of that was necessary.
none of it. And I'm like, okay, so she's probably malnourished because I'm sure she was just putting whatever in her feeding tube or in her.
Yeah, she said she would even do it when she was asleep. She's like, I didn't even know when she was doing it sometimes. Like she could have put whatever she wanted to in there,
Right.
which is probably making her sicker.
Medicine, any kind of anything. Pine Sol, like in the fucking what's it called? And Sixth Sense. But fucking
Yeah.
drain cleaner or child's food.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she don't know. She has no idea. And then
Yeah.
it's like, and I'm sure from her perspective too, like she's, getting to do all these, make a wish things and like
Go to Disney World.
Disneyland and
They
like
got a house.
like sing on stage, like all these things. Oh, can we talk about how the house was pink?
I know. I noticed that. I was like, "Are we a Barbie doll? What's happening here?"
Like living your best Barbie life. I was
Okay,
wait, that's kind of cute though. So, but
right.
like squeezing her hand when she's like talking to people, like I'm like, that's
Yes.
oh my God. Like,
Yeah, and you remember what she said? She said that her mom would squeeze her hand if she said something wrong, that she
mhm,
needed to zip it. That was
mhm,
her cue to
right,
shut her fucking mouth.
right. She was gonna get beat with a fucking coat hanger. Like,
Yep.
like,
Or what, tied up to the bed?
oh my God.
I can't even. It's it's funny because it's like her mom was obviously a
Mhm.
manipulator,
Oh,
master manipulator at that.
hmm
Started young on this child so that this
hmm
child grew up in it thinking that that was normal. And she literally said, I thought this was normal. I didn't know it was abuse until realizing later, like people are telling me, like that was literally abuse. What you're doing is wrong. Like, it's crazy. Like she was the manipulator. And didn't they say that Dee Dee's mom was also that same way? Like she was kind of evil because and then Dee Dee's mom starved her in her last days. That was what, like, I don't know if
Yes.
that was how she died, but I know she said it was right before she died. She was starving her.
Yeah, like she wasn't feeding her and like treating her badly. And like that, I mean, like that may not have been like the cause of her death, but it was like
Right.
the eventual outcome because like she was already sick. So she was just like making it worse.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
like there was just
Definitely making it harder on her.
mhm,
But she was the manipulator. And then when you think about it, Gypsy Rose becomes the manipulator because she manipulates the boyfriend into killing her mom, and they're texting back and forth about it. It was her idea. Had she not said anything to the boyfriend or whatever, he never would have done it. Like that literally was why he did it. Not saying that what he did was right, and obviously he was an adult, but he also had multiple personalities. Like that was a whole thing. So honestly, I feel like between him being ill in that sense and then her, I mean, I don't know if you would I mean, I know she was a victim of Munchausen, but like would you consider that like she wasn't all there as well because of the way she was brought up? Because she obviously had issues um after the fact that her mom was giving her medicines that she didn't need. She had all these surgeries. She
mhm.
was manipulated. Like I feel like all of that made it where it just she couldn't, she wasn't in her right mind. In my opinion, I felt like she wasn't really in her right mind because of everything that had happened to her.
I think
Um,
mhm.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think you're right. Like I think like she was not dealing with the um age appropriate emotional response or a proper like social dynamic, like right
Hmm.
from wrong and like fantasy from like
Reality for
yeah,
sure.
wasn't really understanding that what she was doing, like the fantasy she was creating was appropriate.
Right.
Let's get into that. In just a moment, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back. Okay, and we're back.
Welcome back.
Wick back. And we are going to discuss now Miss Gypsy Rose's mentality and delusion and some things. I have some theory.
Okay.
Um, I think that because of the way she was raised, like she did not have like a social like dynamic that would have been appropriate for like interacting with anyone, let alone
Mhm.
a love interest. Like that was not something she was set up for, which I think she says like when they're interviewing her, she's like, I didn't know like I know right from wrong, but I don't know like that it was wrong to even think of like fixing this problem that I have. But also, I think she might be a bit of a sociopath.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Because
Like, on the subject of the reality versus like fantasy, she mentions that she thought her favorite movie from Disney is Tangled, and she talks about how Rapunzel pushes her mom off or out of the window or whatever, and she falls
Right.
to her death, and she was like, I now realize like that's fantasy, it's not
Right.
reality. So I think she just did what she thought was the best thing to do. um she didn't see any other way out.
Like she drew
And
the
I guess
parallels and they were, I mean, honestly, like I was like, I see the connection. I see
mhm,
because Finn Rider comes and like helps her out of the freaking tower and she lives her best.
right,
And then Mother
yeah,
God like, nah, bitch, you coming back.
right,
And she's like, oh hell no, I ain't.
mm-mm,
She deals with that bitch.
mm-mm.
Accident, granted, but I've watched Tangled so many times. I love that movie. It's so cute.
I have never seen Tangled. I know.
Sorry, I just turned into Little John. That was weird.
Is that a mermaid cup?
Oh yes, ma'am, it is.
Oh, didn't I get you like that thermos that one year that was mermaid?
Yeah, yeah, it was a flask, but yes, ma'am, you
That's
did.
what it was.
Did
Yeah.
perfectly in a travel bag.
Mm, I
Sometimes,
love it.
sometimes you got to get a little something extra.
Mm-hmm. Girl, it's the little things like that that just make me so happy.
Oh,
Um, you know what? I want to get your opinion on this.
mhm,
What do you think when they were questioning the boyfriend?
mhm,
Okay. And they were asking him, like, what happened? And he was like, she asked me to kill her mom.
mhm,
Um, and I did it because I love her.
mhm,
And they kept asking, did he put his penis inside of the mom? Did
mhm,
he put it on the mom? Did he put it in her mouth? Did he put it anywhere on her body? And
mhm.
he was like, no. He's like, I actually, she's like, well, what is your stance on people that have sex with dead people? And then he said, I'm not into necrophilia. Like, I don't agree with it. But then he said later, or like a few seconds later, when she mentioned that Gypsy Rose had said that he said he was going to rape her mom, he said, "Oh yeah, well I thought about it." And it's like, "Well, did you think about it when she was like you were thinking about doing it after she died, or you were thinking about it before she died?" He never elaborated on that. Do you think that he did actually put his penis anywhere on her?
So that struck me as very odd because she
Mm-hmm.
asked the same question twice. And I'm like, did they find
Like
DNA?
DNA? Yeah,
And
that's
I'm
what I
like,
was thinking.
because she then goes from like the penis to the mouth. And I'm like, could he have spit on her? I'm like, because she didn't ask that.
Yeah,
If they found DNA, was it seminal or was it just DNA?
saliva. Yeah, or just DNA, like you said.
Like, was
I
that
was
left out for like, I mean, for decorum purposes, or like,
right.
or like, was that something that they had previously spoken about that he wanted to try? Because apparently he had some he had
He was he had some freaky skeletons up in that closet.
he had some kinks, and I'm like,
Oh, oh,
okay, buddy,
fucking facts. I can't even.
yeah.
After seeing like all those pictures that she took, that Gypsy took for him for his multiple personalities, how every personality needed a girlfriend. What?
I feel
I
like
just
that could have gone to a strange and dark and unpleasant place for Gypsy.
for sure. Do you think when Gypsy said that she was laying on the floor in the bathroom and was covering her ears while the whole thing was happening,
Mhm.
do you think she was telling the truth that she didn't hear any of that? Because I'm thinking you made all those Facebook posts, and the first post you made was like, the bitch is dead. And then you're like, yeah, that bitch was dead. She was screaming so fucking loud, LOL. And it's like, if you were covering your ears and you didn't want to hear any of that and you were like crying on the floor, and now all of a sudden it's finally that bitch is dead, like, what?
See, what I think on that is like she may have been in the bathroom and may have been covering her ears, but
Mm-hmm.
then the euphoria of being free of her oppressor kicked in. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when she went to Facebook and was like saying what she really felt. Like the bitch is dead. Like I hated her ass. Like,
Yeah.
all these things. And I'm like, because I mean, you can kind of tell too, with they like the camera in like the bus station, like they were
Mm-hmm.
on cloud nine. And then
Oh, for sure.
in the fucking hotel with the fucking Domino's brownie.
Yes. That fucking Domino's brownie. And he was eating that shit up. And then you could tell he was naked. So they clearly had spent like the whole time fucking like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like they were, that was probably the best sex both of them ever had too. I guarantee. They, like you said, they were on cloud nine. They were like, they were up in it. They were up in heaven. That's
Thing.
how far they up. That's how far up they were. They met God.
Exactly. But
I
yeah,
can't.
I think her I think her tune changed
Mm,
because she was upset that she was taught and that this fantasy that she had like created for herself was not going to come to fruition.
mm-hmm.
And like she was saddened and hurt by that. But was she sad that her mother was dead and that she was no longer going to be subjected to like abuse?
Or abuse. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. I don't think so.
I was
Um,
she's like, okay, well, yeah, I killed my mother. I did that. And then I think she realized that was extremely wrong and I shouldn't have done that.
right.
And now I have to deal with it. And I think that helped her tremendously. Like she took some ownership of what she did, but not complete. Like she was more complicit than she's saying she was, I think.
I think so too. And you notice the fact that she tried to spin it about the boyfriend was saying, well, he was telling me this, this, and this. Like I should do this. And she thought it was okay. But I'm like, I don't know. That's why I have so many feels about it because like there's a part of me that feels sorry for her because obviously she was abused and
Oh,
this stuff
absolutely.
did really happen to her and it was
Right.
awful.
Mhm.
Um, and in our the government says that these things are wrong, like, to kill people. And I understand that. But at what point does it become a thing of it was survival mode for you and, you didn't really have any other options type thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to say that murder is wrong, but like sometimes I get it.
Right.
Sometimes you are at that point of you can't get any help. There's no, I mean, how does one that was I think she was like 24 or something when she
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
Frontal lobe wasn't even fully developed. I'm just going to point that out. But,
Right.
you know, at 24, how do you get out of your mother's whatever, according to law enforcement, they would say, well, obviously you're 24, you're an adult, you can get out of that. But when you've been manipulated by that your whole life, that's just like telling an abused wife to
Mhm.
just leave her husband when she literally can put herself at risk of him killing her by leaving. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many things,
Mhm.
two things. You can't just tell someone to leave a situation.
No.
It's not that easy. It's not always that easy. People that are not in those situations don't understand that.
No, exactly. And I think she didn't have any capacity mentally, financially, maturely, in a mature way to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't even dealing with like an actual rational option. And
Mm-hmm.
before, like she knew. Also, she thought she was 19. Let's talk about that. Um,
Yes. So did she even really know how old she was?
like damn, like, and then like she's thinking of it like, oh, she's gonna bring me back again if I leave. So that has like this component of my, you know, miserable life has to be removed.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think she like, and I mean, I'm not saying that like by any means like retaliation of an abuser by death is right. Like that is not right.
Right.
Obviously you want retaliation from from an abuser if you get out of the situation. Some people can forgive, others cannot. And that is the thing.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, she didn't, from her headspace, she didn't see any other option. There's no other way
Right.
to get out of this because her mother would have found her and brought her back just like the time she did before. And she would have been subjected to the exact same treatment, if not
If
worse.
not worse. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And like, I'm sure um she didn't think Dee Dee did not think of Gypsy as a young woman. I'm sure she was still trying to make her a little girl. And it's
Right.
like the way, which I'm sure she's got some like developmental like issues with like her voice box because she did have
Yes.
throat
She's
surgery.
still, yeah.
She talks like this.
Yes. Nick walked in when I was watching it and he's like, I don't like her voice. He said, "What?" He's like, is that a little girl? And I was like, no, she
No,
is 32.
right. And it's like that. She talks like this and like this little tiny voice. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm sure that became an absolute like natural speech pattern because her mother wanted her to be younger than she really was. Like she wanted her
Yep.
to be a baby. And
She
I'm
had to throw that voice. Yep.
right. And don't get me wrong, I still want like it still freaks me out that Trenton is like singing deep bass. And I'm like, I don't like
Right. I don't like
that.
having a whole man for a child.
Yo, son, he don't even speak, he rumbles.
Oh,
Like,
girl, I know. I know. It drives me crazy though. I can't ever understand what he's saying. And I'm like, what? And
it's
then
like,
he calls me grandma because he thinks I can't hear him. I'm like, I hear you. I
no,
don't understand you. And you don't move your fucking lips, son. Move
exactly.
your lips.
Move your lips. The tips,
Don't be mumbling. Don't be mumbling. Ain't
the
nobody
lips,
understanding
keep
that shit.
the tongue enunciate. Like
Yes.
saying,
My God.
oh,
That's something he gets from his daddy. But anyway.
right. Can't understand him either. It's like, what do you, all I hear is, and I'm like,
Yep. And you're just like,
you said what?
you just pretend like you heard him and just laugh. My mom be doing that, but she literally can't be hearing a damn thing. And she has the hearing aids and she still can't hear.
She didn't turn them up. Maybe she got them turned on.
Oh my God. Oh, do you know how glorious that would be to just turn your fucking hearing aids off and you don't have to hear shit for a while? God bless. I would do that while I was reading.
Girl, the amount of times that I have been like, I wish I was more hard of hearing than I am.
Or at least have selective hearing. You know what I'm saying? Like real selective hearing where we can be like,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, like repetitive noises, I don't hear. And people are like, is that not annoying you? I'm like, what? What are we talking about? And they're like, you don't hear that? I'm like, no, I hear it. I'm not listening to it. And but then people
Right.
are like, how do you hear like these weird sounds? Like I'm like, I'm a mom. I can't. It's like my brain
You learn
knows.
to tune stuff out.
Yeah, but like sounds that are not like natural to my environment. I'm like, what was that? And they're like, what was what? And I'm like, you didn't hear that? But I think it's
Right.
mom brain. Because when you
Mhm.
hear that your kid's doing something and you know for a damn fact that sound shouldn't be happening, and you're like,
Mhm.
"What was that?" And they're like, "Nothing."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let me
Yep.
exactly. It's the nothing, the tone of nothing. I'm like, "Oh, y'all don't broke something."
Girl, my cat is literally watching you.
He's
His
like,
name is Hershey, by the way.
he's like,
Hershey.
"What's going on over there?" Your name is not Hershey, dude. So go away. Hi, baby. Don't try to get my lap, please. You're gonna knock everything over. Hi, baby. She's putting her big giant head in my lap. Hi,
The
Wendy.
Medusa,
Mm-hmm.
that big old baby.
She's ridiculous. Let me boop you. Let me boop you.
So, what are your thoughts on
I love
the
you.
fact that okay, so they went to Wisconsin where his parents
Mm-hmm.
were living there. Parents had no idea what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden they get that package in the mail, and the dad was like, "Well, I don't open mail, so it's not like he opened it." And I was like, why the fuck did they send that shit to themselves? I was so confused. You could have just taken that from the scene, first of all, if you wanted it. But why?
Um, this, excuse me, circling back is why I'm like, this heifer's a sociopath because they were getting rid of evidence
But why send it to the parents' house?
to keep it in their possession. Like, okay, so
But
if it,
why couldn't they have just taken it? I guess I'm so confused. Like, why couldn't they have just taken it from the scene?
so they wouldn't get caught with it. And like, you know, like if you like
No.
a lot of bus stops and stuff have like metal detectors.
Mm-hmm.
So like if they put it through an x-ray machine, they would see like a knife in there. So they put it through the mail. And you can mail knives without any repercussions because you're, you know, because they can sell knives on the internet. So if it went through a mailing x-ray machine, they'll be like, oh, someone bought a knife.
Well, here's my thing. Like, okay, did they not just take, didn't they just, they didn't fly anywhere. They just took a bus. They took a Greyhound, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, do Greyhounds do metal detectors? Because I've never heard that.
Well, I think they do. Like for security purposes, like you don't want somebody to like randomly hijack a bus like in speed.
Well, you don't, but like, I don't think regular public transportation does that, like Rover and all that other shit. Like, where are they putting these
Oh
metal?
no. No, no, no. Well, they went through like they took like a Greyhound.
But what? Well, to me, I guess what is the difference in in Greyhound and other public transportation? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I feel like they're all the same. You wait at a bus stop.
I just think that that was their. This is just my musing. I think that was their way of disposing of evidence without carrying it on their person, like delaying the process. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
like say, okay, someone commits a murder. They need to get rid of the murder weapon, but they want to delay finding of the murder weapon. But also, like in the event that they had gotten caught or someone had called the police looking for Gypsy and they found
Oh yeah,
her,
and then if
she
they
would have
did
had
find
the,
him,
yeah, they would have found the murder weapon. But this way, they can still keep it in their possession, but it would delay finding. You see what I'm saying?
yeah. Or they
Like,
they could either keep it on them, or I think if I were them, if I were in that situation, obviously the whole situation I wouldn't want to be in, but
right,
if I was trying to get rid of evidence, I think if I did mail it to myself in another state, then I would bury it somewhere in that other state so that nobody would be thinking to look there.
right.
Because law enforcement's going to be looking
Mhm.
nearby for
Mhm.
shit, like but if they would have followed their trail, it makes sense now because if they would have followed their trail, like let's just say that while like, they go on the Greyhound, they make a stop at one state, or let's just say that they even drove, if they drove themselves, they could have dumped it out the window when they got 300,000 miles away. I'm throwing 300,000 out there. That's a little extreme, but like 1,000 miles away, they could throw it out the window, but eventually it would be found because if they figure out what their track was, tracking cell phones, towers, and all that, they figure out what way they went. So that makes sense.
And just
Yeah.
following the bus route. They can just look along
Yeah.
on that bus route because they took a
Yeah.
bus. It follows a specific route and it's probably GPS tracked anyway. So like
Right.
I think that was just like delaying possible finding of the murder weapon. And that's where that sociopathness comes back in. Like there were some wheels turning and some things thinking, like they were planning, like this was planned
It
out.
was definitely premeditated for sure.
Absolutely premeditated. I can't
And
speak. Premeditated.
girl, and then after breaking that down with you about the male piece and everything, that makes sense, and it's actually kind of smart.
Yeah, like that's pretty ingenious. Like it's
Considering that someone doesn't realize that what they're doing is wrong, they sure did go to a lot of trouble.
to cover it up.
Exactly. Because if you got to like go through stuff to
Mhm.
keep somebody from finding out something, then you need to know. what you're doing has got to be wrong in some sense.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Right. Like she knew what she was doing was wrong. She just at the moment was like, I'm free. I'm
Yeah.
free from, this life that I've been subjected to all of my life. So, I mean, 14 years of being kept a prisoner in the name of love.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you, in your opinion, do you think that the sentence that was passed down to him and to her, he was sentenced to life, correct? Wasn't it life? And then she was looking at the death penalty, but she got 10 years. And honestly, in my opinion, that I was like, damn, she actually made out very well on this
I mean,
because her being the master manipulator behind it, she didn't even have to have a knife in her hand to get death penalty, literally. Um, she definitely was very lucky in that sense. But do you think that that was a fair sentence?
no, not at all. She should have got minimum 25 years with the possibility of parole after like 90%. I don't know if they do 90%, but like she should have gotten a lot fucking longer in jail. She got off very easy compared to young Nick there.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Um,
damn. Like,
yeah. I want to know if he got sentenced to life, did he act because they didn't touch on that. They didn't say whether he actually had a trial because she didn't have a trial. She just pled guilty. So they just gave her the sentence.
they had a hearing before the trial, and like she'd already been in jail for a year, so that counted against her sentence. So
Right.
she did
Her
like,
time served.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. So yeah, she got off very easy. Um, and like I know they did like the message at the end saying that he got life in prison, and which I mean, he's the one that actually committed the actual physical murder. Um, but I still think that was kind of harsh. But also, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he would be a danger to anyone else. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, he exhibited some, or shared some information that would be like, oh shit, uh,
Yeah.
he's gonna do this again.
Well,
Like,
yeah, because he said, let me point out for a second. I forgot about this.
well,
Don't you think it's funny that first of all they met on a dating website that was for Christians and it was like find a pastor or some shit? Did you notice that? That was literally where they met was find a pastor.
don't give
And
me,
then he
don't give me.
girl. Well, yeah, we girl, we know. But what did she really think she was gonna meet someone like and that was a good person on there? First of all, like yes, you might think that you're gonna meet someone that's a good person
Mhm.
because of it being Christian related. But here's my thought. When you found out he wasn't actually a good person, you didn't think like, him having all these multiple personalities. I'm not saying that people obviously have multiple personalities, they can't fucking help it. I understand that. You
Yeah,
know,
and some
that's
people live perfectly normal lives. Yes, they
yeah,
may transition from person to person, but they're not out here murdering people.
exactly. That right there is something going on. And the fact that he said he loved to kill, and that was before he actually fucking killed her, how many other people or things or pets or whatever have you killed? Like that's my question.
Like, let's
Um,
like, can we touch on that? Like, has he
yeah,
been murdering small animals?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering because like serial killers be starting out like that usually. They have murdered an animal
Maybe
in their
did it in
lifetime.
the
Where we're looking
backyard.
at Ted Bundy, we're looking at Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, hello,
Yeah.
that's what they do.
Maybe they were thinking by giving him life imprisonment that they were preempting a serial killer, possibly.
Possibly.
Honestly, he didn't. I think part of it is like he didn't really express any remorse, especially in that interview. Like he was just
He was
giving,
just very matter of fact.
yeah, he
Yeah.
was just giving facts, and I'm like, okay, um,
And clearly, with the amount of times that he stabbed her, I don't remember if they said how many times, but I know that it was multiple stabs because you could see it in the pictures.
Like, yeah, like he went ham.
He did.
And
Girl,
I'm
he
like,
went ham, turkey, and
girl, dress
jam. He ate it all.
and everything. Like,
Mm,
dude, like he clearly lost his mind. Like,
yeah.
didn't go for the jugular, didn't go for like a vital spot, just lost his mind. Like,
Yes. And see, that could be why, he wasn't remorseful. But I mean, usually we see those, we know we're true crime fans.
mhm,
You see things like when there's stabbings like that or shootings or strangulations,
mhm,
they're usually crime of passion.
mhm.
When it's multiple stabs, multiple shots, like you just go ham, like you said. And
Brenda,
strangulation is very personal because
mhm.
that takes a while to kill someone when you strangle them. It
Yeah,
ain't fucking
that's not
fast.
instantaneous. Like a person won't even pass out that quickly. Like it takes about 2 minutes.
Right. Yes, I was gonna say it literally takes minutes. Like you got to be like really into it at that point. Like, because if
Right?
you can't stop yourself when you're strangling somebody, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like you got plenty of time to think about what you're doing while you're strangling somebody that you could stop.
Mm-hmm.
Keep yourself from doing it. But
Especially if they're fighting you,
yes,
like to kill
yes, you got
you.
plenty
You
of time to be
can't.
like, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, the fact that he had mentioned before, or not mentioned, I think he had texted it, didn't he? Or maybe he put it on his profile. I don't remember what it was. It was maybe it was on Facebook that he had posted it, something about I love killing, blah blah blah. Maybe since the fact that that was on there, that could have been the nail that closed that fucking coffin. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I do. We feel like Gypsy would harm anyone now that she's out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
She's been out since December 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Um, would she do something to someone, even though she was not the actual killer in this situation? Would she be able to manipulate someone else into doing something for her to get her way? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, she was a coward in a sense because she couldn't do it herself.
Right.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been, I look at it like, why wouldn't she have wanted to do it herself? Because that would have been so much more pleasurable to someone that really wanted that person dead because of
Right.
what they did to them. You want to inflict that pain on them that you suffered. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why I'm a little shocked she didn't do it herself. Then
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I guess she was just a coward. She had to have somebody else doing her shit for her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know, I was kind of in my feels about it because I was like, yeah, 10 years. Like at first I was in agreement with how long they gave her because I was like, well, I know it could have been way worse. She didn't actually kill her, but she did kind of manipulate the boyfriend into doing it for her. But also, it just makes you empathetic to her because of what she had been through. So it's like, oh, I don't know. But then I'm like, well, but you remember who was it? Was it her cousin that was on there? Because Dee Dee was his
Right in the
aunt. That was
hat.
what he said. Yes, with the
Yeah.
hat on and the green plaid. Yes. He said, don't turn your back because she'll probably stab you in it. And I don't think that was just a metaphor. You know how like people stab you in the back,
Right now.
I don't think that was the metaphor what he was saying. I think he was being legit. And I'm like, well, would she? Like, was this a one-time thing? Did the judge really think that she only did this because of the shit that happened with her mom? Who knows if
I
she
thought
is
he was
actually
talking
going
about
to?
Dee Dee when he said that.
Sorry, what?
I thought he was talking about Dee Dee when he said that.
Oh no, he was talking about Gypsy. He was
Eh?
literally, yes. He said, you cannot trust her. He said, what are you going to do? Like, if you turn your back, she's going to stab you in it. Girl. So I don't know. I don't know. But
Mm.
her family clearly had their feels about Dee Dee and
Mm.
how even her own siblings, her brother and sister or whatever the fuck, and none of them liked her. Just
No,
nobody liked her.
they said to flush her damn ashes down the toilet.
They did, girl. They said, send
They
that
said,
shit to the fucking sea,
put
under the sea.
that bitch in the fucking sewer because we don't want her. Like, and she was supposedly poisoning the stepmother too.
Wait.
Dee Dee.
Gypsy was?
No,
Dee Dee
Dee Dee.
was.
Dee Dee was
Oh,
stepmother, and she was sick for not like 9 months.
I didn't even catch that part.
Girl.
I didn't even catch that part. Can we touch on that? Let's take a break and touch on that when we get back.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go back to like that, like the trickle down effect of freaking master manipulators. Let's get that.
Yes.
And we'll be right back. We'll be back. Okay,
Welcome back.
we're back. Hi, welcome. So, talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and now that she's released, what's her life gonna look like? Like, what's her, is she gonna be a master manipulator like her mother, who apparently not only did some financial crimes against her family members, but also um, potentially um, neglected her mother, causing her death, and poisoned her stepmom, and did some other nefarious things. So, how does like that type of personality and mentality and learned manipulation, like how's that going to affect Gypsy's life?
Right.
And like I'm sure, like, we're not psychologists in any way, but I'm sure there are some psychologists that would do a very in-depth study and find her very fascinating. I find her extremely fascinating,
Thank
um because I did a little social media search on Gypsy Rose Blanchard. um she's married.
That's right. Said that when she was released, she went with her husband.
Hmm. Right. I don't know what his last name is. I'm not really interested in him. Uh,
I'm
but
interested to know what he saw in her, I guess.
like, I need to know what the pull was there.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem very precious, newlyweddy, and vomit affection. Um,
One thumb down.
right. So I also found that she released an ebook. Yes,
Oh, well,
ebook.
that was fast. Did she do that from prison or after? Because I mean, I know she's only been out for a few weeks.
Right. I'm gonna say she did that. Uh, let's see. This was released is, let's see. It says Conversations on the Eve of Freedom. That's released, and let's see. Hold on. Yeah. So she apparently had some ghostwriters and stuff. Let's see. Where's a description? Oh, okay. This is the Amazon overview of this book. Gypsy Road Blanchard discovered that her whole life was a lie. After 8.5 years of incarceration, she now finally tells you the truth with this exclusive collection of interview transcripts and journal entries, plus her own illustrations and photos.
Oh,
Mhm. While incarcerated for her role in her mother's death, Gypsy saw her story told by others again and again in the media, from news reports and podcasts to TV series like The Act on Hulu. Now granted early parole and preparing to start a new life, she's free to speak directly to her supporters and the world.
wow.
So yeah. So I'm probably gonna get that. It's $10 in the in the Kindle store. So
I mean, that's not bad.
I mean, at all, like, that's a bad. It's 200 pages.
Okay.
So if you're a it was published on January 9th.
Okay. That was
So
quick.
yeah, post, I guess, kind of a in between kind of a thing. So
Hmm.
yeah, she tells her story, and I just wonder, how much of that is manipulation, because it's not always obvious when someone's manipulating. So
Correct. I mean, look at her situation. It wasn't obvious to her. Also, she was a kid.
Right.
So obviously,
Oh,
she's just doing whatever her mom said because that she thought that was normal.
right.
Um, what happened with the whole poisoning of the stepmom? Because I literally did not catch that, but that could have also been when Nick was running his trap because I was like, I can't pause this because if I continue to pause this, I won't finish before 10 o'clock. So I'm gonna
So it was when they were talking to the dad and the
Mhm.
stepmom. Okay, confirm this or not. Was she not wearing shoes? Like the stepmom, look, she's wearing white socks
When
when they were interviewing her. Like I swear she wasn't wearing shoes.
the only time I saw her feet that I remember
Mhm.
was when they went down to the courthouse to see her and they were
Oh no
sitting
no
with her. She
no,
had sandals
Dee
on,
Dee's
but
stepmom.
oh, Dee Dee's stepmom.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Gypsy's
No no
stepmom, and
no
that's
no.
why I was trying
Dee
to
Dee.
figure out how in the hell did she even get a hold of Gypsy's stepmom stuff, to like poison her. What the fuck?
No no no.
Um,
Dee Dee's stepmom.
I'm trying to think of who she was. Remind me who she was because I can't picture her right now.
You know, like the old couple.
Oh,
The
the two
case
people that were sitting there. I thought they were the siblings of Dee Dee.
girl, that was her dad and her stepmom.
I hate myself. I hate myself.
That was
Um, okay, I think she might have had sandals and socks on. I know he had Crocs on. I did
he
notice
did. He was wearing
that.
he was wearing Crocs. But I swear that woman was not wearing socks. That was or wearing like she had on white socks. And I'm like, girl, what? You couldn't put on shoes for the interview? Anyway.
Right? Maybe she thought the feet wouldn't be shown, and maybe that's why he wore his Crocs.
Maybe they were like, we're not getting dressed up, leave us alone, damn. Pan in,
We
check.
oh, we ain't got time for that.
But no,
We just
like
living our Croc life.
he was saying that like Dee Dee's dad was like, yeah, we didn't know what was going on at first. And then, like, they did some tests, come to find out Dee Dee was poisoning her stepmother. And, like, when they finally figured it out and they stopped, like, she stopped poisoning her, she was sick for like 9 months after that.
Okay,
Like,
I do remember the nine
in the
months
bed.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, like, she was sick for 9 months. And I'm like, what the fuck was she poisoning her with?
yeah.
I'm
Like
like,
you would think they would have like elaborated on that. Like, oh well, they did tests and they found rat poison, or
right.
is there any other type of poison? I mean, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can poison somebody without using poison. You can
Yeah,
use
like,
things that are poisonous.
yes, like,
Yeah,
dipping, like,
like drain cleaner, or.
you can poison somebody with fucking eye drops. Look at my
I
shits.
know. Didn't they put fucking acid in somebody's eye drops or something? Somebody did, and it killed them.
Girl,
Yeah, somebody put acid in somebody's eye drops, and when they used it, it like literally killed them. I don't know how the fuck it killed them, but it did.
well, I mean, I guess it would eat through to their brain, but damn.
That, bro, you got to be on another level of murdering when you like acid in your eyes. Bye.
Twisted. That's so twisted.
Oh
Yeah,
God, my eyeballs are hurting right now talking
girl.
about it.
I'm like, oh my eyeballs. Because my eyes stay dry, and I'm like, I'm supposed to use eye drops every day, but I don't because I forget.
And just think, somebody could just take you out with some acid in
Well,
your
these
eyeballs.
fuckers up. Put them.
Every time you grab them eye drops, you're gonna be like, "Is today the day?"
It's
I
like,
girl, I used eye drops yesterday and today. Could have been my day too.
exactly. It's like, oh my God, my retinas. Um, but yeah, like I just wonder, like, and I know, like, for some people who manipulate, it's a default reaction or default stance to take up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not always conscious, like, they're not always conscious that, oh, I'm manipulating someone. Like, so I
Right.
just wonder, like, how much of Gypsy's life is going to be affected, like, her day to day interactions with people is going to be affected by this innate behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
the way she manipulated the little boyfriend to
Right.
like, is she gonna be manipulative of her new husband by accident?
Right.
And is he gonna know when it's happening? Is he already vigilant of that? That's my wonder. Like,
Right. Right. I wonder if after this she would be able to, I mean, she's not going to be able to get a job, I wouldn't think. I mean, I'm sure there's some places out there that may hire felons, but like, look at Casey Anthony, for instance. She's out there working for the attorney that she used, I think, or something. I don't know. No, she used Jose Bias. She's working for an attorney, I should say, and he did like a deep dive into her case and whatever. And he like literally, she's on his payroll, and he treats her very well. And I'm thinking, is Gypsy gonna have that opportunity that someone out there is going to extend a job to her so that she'll be able to make a living, because she's never worked in her life. She's only ever just, been manipulated, played this child role. Um, would anybody even want to hire her? Even if they did feel sorry for her, would they want to hire her based on the fact that she only has a second grade education? She's murdered someone, and we don't truly know if she would be capable of doing this again, because we would like to think it was a one-time thing where it was just because of the situation she was in. But what if she finds herself in another situation like that, or similar to that? Could we trust that she wouldn't try this again, type thing? Or is she just going to go out there and monotonize off of this for the rest of her life what she can, and do interviews and stuff, or write more books, or use her platform, because now it's like she's been given a platform, so to speak. She may start her own podcast, for all we know. Everybody does that.
yeah.
Obviously she's on TikTok, she could be TikTok famous, like so
On,
many things.
like honestly, I feel like she would be an idiot not to monetize her story and her experiences, not just from, which she actually said this on one of her TikToks, not just from like the
The
media.
murder.
Yeah, like not just the media coverage of the murder, but also being a
A
survivor
victim. Yeah.
Munchausen syndrome by proxy, because it's called that now apparently too. Um,
Right.
so like she's come through this and gotten out of it, and obviously by not a great way, clearly. But like, I mean, also she's published a book now, so she'll get, every time somebody buys that, she'll get royalties from it. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Also, she's done lots of interviews, lots of things, and like, um, I'm sure she's planning on writing another book to share her story.
Right.
I mean, like, she would kind of be dumb to not, and I don't think she's
Yeah.
dumb at all. Like, I think she's quite intelligent.
I think if she would have been able to finish school, she probably would have been like top of her class.
Yeah,
She
like
could
she,
have gone on to do a lot of good things. She could have been, I feel like she's probably smart enough to even be a doctor, a lawyer, be something like that, and could have made a good living for herself. And now she's going to have to depend on monotonizing off of what happened to her for the rest of her life. It's like it'll never go away for her, which obviously it'll never go away anyways. No matter what type of therapy you're getting, it's going to be there. And now she has to be reminded of it every single day. She's always just going to be known as that girl that was the victim of her mom, and she murdered her mom. And, she's going to be known as a killer. It's just,
I
I
think
don't.
the other thing too, like I would try to move, which I think she's doing, like she's trying to move away from being only known as, this girl who had her mother killed because she was torturing her, basically. So,
Right.
like, I mean, if I were her, like, obviously, definitely set the record straight. Um, you know, process all that as much as possible, but also move away from it in some respect. Like obviously right now it's hot topic. Everybody's talking about it.
Right.
So right now, like I think the better she can direct like the world to the fact that she also survived some serious trauma, not just that she's, you know, complicit in a murder, the murder from mother. Like I think the sooner she gets away from that and talks more about, you know, Munchausen by proxy and things like that, and
Mhm.
then moves into what she's gonna do moving forward. I mean, your girl's still young. Like she can do things. She can go to school. She can, you know, have a life and career and or kids or
Yeah.
whatever. But, you know, I mean, like, I think like obviously there's the fascination, but I feel like if you're like a real like you really want her to have a good life, like I think like people would want her to not have to relive that day to day. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that thing in the back of her mind that she was subjected to for 14 years and then eight and
And
a
then
half
she still has to talk and think about it every fucking day.
every fucking day.
Yes, girl. I mean, I don't know if she's getting therapy, and I hope that she is. Obviously, with everything that she went through, it's very long overdue for her to be getting therapy. I wish that they would have put her through therapy while she's in prison. I don't know if they
Oh, I'm sure
did.
that did. Like I'm sure that was part of her like a
Like
mandatory.
her rehabilitation, like, yeah, I hope so. And I hope that, like, who knows, like maybe that would be using her platform to speak about the things that she went through, educate people on Munchausen by proxy, and, you know, using that, who knows, like maybe she'll decide, I want to help people. I
Mhm.
want to get my GED. I want to go to college. I want to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something in that sense to help people,
Mhm.
that are going through things. And I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of good things that she could do with her platform for sure.
Mhm.
And stuff that she could even do, like you said, that would kind of, that she's going to do in the future moving forward that kind of goes away from what she is known for,
Right.
but could be something beneficial to people,
Right.
not just like influencing, for whatever, like products or things like that. Like she could do other great things. And I don't know. I feel like that would be the best for her. And honestly, I hope that if she is truly monotonizing off of this, I really hope that she is getting her fair share of money, because look at Casey Anthony. Like they had reported allegedly, I'm just going to say allegedly because I don't remember the exact number, but I do want to say that it was like $250,000 or so for that interview that she did recently that was on, I know it was on Hulu, but I don't know like what station it was on or whatever network. I don't know. But I watched it on Hulu. But supposedly she was paid that much for that. And she also was paid like an additional, allegedly was paid an additional 100 or 200,000 for just the pictures alone that she provided that were her private pictures.
Mm.
So like she ain't cheap.
Right.
Um, and I understand that because, I still have my feels about her case and the situation and everything, but I do understand she has to make a living and she can't just be speaking about these things
Mm-hmm.
and not be paid for it. Like, I
Absolutely.
do understand it. Do I think it's a little steep? Yeah, I think I mean, she is kind of monotonizing off of her daughter's death, but um it's also like her, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's taking her energy to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It takes your physical, your mental energy to like put your all into these interviews, and you're having to talk about things that you haven't talked about in 15 years.
Right.
And it's bringing up your past. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that we could probably all agree that Casey Anthony had a lot of shit in her past and
Yeah.
her and traumas growing up, at least,
Right.
that's getting brought up all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be another one. I think we should talk about Casey Anthony at some point if you're ever interested in that, because that was one I was heavily invested in.
I'm trying to remember like all the details. Like I remember being like having it mentioned, but I don't remember exactly the whole story like at all.
I think if you look up some things on it, I'm positive you would be like, your memory would be refreshed probably pretty immediately.
Mm.
It's just hard to like, sometimes it's hard to remember those things because they happened so long ago and then they get brought back out into the limelight again. Um, of course, like she just did a special recently, so like that's why it was brought back out into the limelight. Because she had did her time. She only got 4 years in prison, so and that was just because she lied to authorities. She didn't do any jail time for the murder of her daughter.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. But if we talk about it, I'll definitely educate you on what I know.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so that's I think that's probably going to wrap up the Gypsy Rose. Like she's out there and she's apparently writing books and hopefully she does something really good with her platform. And
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, be an advocate for people who have gone through Munchausen by proxy because, not really an example because we don't need to redo this. But like, like at least know that, to seek a way out. Like there is a way out and it doesn't have to be murder. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It didn't be a role model for people going through Munchausen by proxy, obviously, but like at least, if you feel like you're under the thumb of someone doing that, like you'd be like, seek a way out, speak to your doctors, don't go with it, try some, like try to get out, like when to, because I know like one of the TikToks, she was like, saying like how to recognize it.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's a good thing because you may not, you may not think about it, think of, all the different signs that there could be. But yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I think she can do some good things and I think she will do some good things, but
yeah,
I don't know. Let the girl live her life. She'll be all right. But yeah. Also,
yes,
congratulations on your marriage, Miss Gypsy Rose.
yeah. Congrats.
Congrats, girl.
Long live and prosper.
Yeah, live long and prosper. Sorry. I haven't watched Star Trek for like a week.
Before we got on this podcast, she was like, "Give me a minute. I'm trying to finish this episode of Star Trek." I was like, "Okay, Miss
It
Star
was a
Trek."
good one. Now I'm rewatching Next Generation. This is probably the third time.
I love it.
Anyway, yeah, no, but yeah, Miss Gypsy Blanchard, good luck to you, girl. Good luck to you.
Yes.
Move
Good
forward.
luck.
Forward is the way. Go ahead, girl. But anyway, yeah.
And
Mm.
thank you all for tuning in this week and listening to our opinions and our breakdown of the Gypsy Rose story. We appreciate you. If you can, please like, subscribe, mention this to your friends. Social Sanity Podcast. Find us on Instagram at Social Sanity Podcast. You can email us, socialsanitypodcast@gmail.com. And we would appreciate it. And leave your comments if you would love to comment on anything, if there's anything we missed, anything that we are incorrect on, kindly let
Right.
us know.
Right. With kindness and respect. Thank you always.
Yes.
Love you
Thanks.
so much. Talk to you later. Y'all be good.
Bye.